Hi, and welcome by joining the training tonight. Did you notice that whenever we talk about supplement, many people do not think they need it? They often say this: I'm eating healthy, I do exercise regularly, or I have no pain. So why do I need it? If you do not have the answer to these questions, you are in the right place. This is what we are here for. Let's listen to Claudia to have a share on this topic. Over to you, Claudia.
All right. Thank you, CK, for the introduction, and a very welcome to everyone tonight. Okay, first, I really want to commend all of you for showing up today, because today is a public holiday, right? So it shows how committed you are towards the knowledge of getting better and improving yourself. And I think that this is something that you should really give yourself a pat on the back. Yeah. So I'm sure today you will not regret attending today, as we're going to be learning a lot together. All right. So without further ado, allow me to share my screen. Okay, so the focus for this month is back to basics. All right, we revisited this theme because it's so important that every so often we talk about the fundamentals. All right, it is the foundation is the scaffolding of our health. So last week we spoke in detail about, 2 weeks ago, we spoke in detail about cleansing. Okay, what is it, why we need it, how to go about it, and where does Unicity stand, all right, with other traditional cleansers. So we have established this the first week, and if you have not watched it, I highly recommend you to look through it again. And as for the second step, it's just as important, because you just imagine, right? You can have all the nutrition that your body needs, but if there's nothing to protect your body against harm, it is fruitless, all right? So it's just as important that we need to have things that can protect our metabolic health. And next, which is the Nourish step, this will be the core and will be the center focus of today. And we'll be stressing on how we need this in order to enjoy long-term good health. Because I believe, as mentioned, that nobody wants to be healthy for 1 month, then the next month they want to have diabetes or they want to have joint pains and things like that. So today we'll be unlocking the truth behind this topic. Okay, it shows the trend of how food has changed over the years since 1980s until fast forward today. So 1980s until today is really not that long of a time, roughly 40 years ago. So fast food and ultra processed food was at 26%. And now you can see it's 80%. So you may think that, okay, since this video is filmed in the UK, so it may not be relevant to us. But I can tell you, you can do as much research as you can. This pattern is the same anywhere in the world. In Western populations, in Asian, in Southeast Asia. It's no wonder Malaysia is the leading in terms of obesity and overweight problems. Okay, and it's all showed by how the choice of food has changed so drastically in the past 40 years. So of course, these are the foods that we claim it to be guilty pleasure or comfort food. Foods that we secretly enjoy them a bit too much. Well, on the other hand, there are individuals who have very good self-control. All right, they are people who are very health conscious and they are not so easily drawn towards obvious fast food choices such as these. So to give a benefit of the doubt, fair enough, right? There are health conscious people listening to this talk today. So these are obviously foods that we know outright are bad foods. However, there are also other foods that we consume in a daily basis that is classified under processed, but we may not be aware of it. So what are those foods, if you're curious to know? So these, right? Grains, pasta, bread, okay, flour, right? The more fine it is, nowadays there are things like very smooth flour, right? The smoother it is, there's more processing done. And other things such as canned food that we do consume occasionally. And of course, all right, we cannot prepare anything without any seasoning. Just cooked chicken without any form of soy sauce, I don't think it's palatable. And even other things like dairy and cheese. So you may be surprised seeing all this food because these are our staple food, isn't it? And they're supposed to be good for us, whole grains are more, right? So, Claudia, what are you trying to say? The thing is, things have changed very drastically back in the day and now, right? Because way back, times are a lot simpler. Most families, they sustain themselves, right? Oftentimes, the wife or the mother of the family would grow their own harvest, would rear their own livestock, their own chickens. And this is not that long time ago, frankly. During my parents' time, it's like that. And whenever they have excess, they will, bring it to the market, they will sell it off and things like that. So a lot of food is prepared using home preservative techniques, right? And they, go back to the nature, all right? They do a lot of things on their own and plug everything manually. So as you can see here, things are still quite natural at that point of time. So now, especially in this past 40 years, we have seen a very drastic change in how food is being produced. In this short time, we have experienced industrialization, even more advanced than ever before. Okay, and fruits and vegetables and fresh produce even are being harvested in large amounts in order to meet the food demands and the increased population growth. So of course, with convenience, with money and with profit being the forefront, obviously there are other things that has to be able to trade in for that cause, right? So according to what I've learned, as long as fruits and vegetables are being harvested, once they go into the factory, there's already some lead time there. And that is when nutrients have already started to deplete. And whenever all these fruits, they go into a factory, they don't just, immediately go to sell. They will always go through at least 4 to 5 different type of processing in between. And this has led to even more depletion of nutrients. Okay, and obviously, the industry knows that, food industry knows that, nutrition depletion is a huge issue. And they have tried to make a lot of efforts to rectify this. Okay, there are things like fortified foods. They try to enhance. If you go to the grocery store, if you look at a lot of food packaging, they will boast and they will market their food produce as enriched with vitamin C, fortified with iron, that kind of thing, right? So despite of all these efforts, food scientists, they still say that it's impossible. Okay, it's impossible to revert the food back to its original form. So this is how much food industrialization has affected the quality of the food that we have today, right? Milk and big factories. So this is an image of a wheat. Okay, it's a wheat plant. We all know that. This is where we get our rice and grains. So back in the day, there is, we use a lot of manual labor, okay, and they use wooden machines to pound all these things manually. And now people don't do that anymore because it's very time consuming, and you end up only being able to pound a handful of rice end of the day. So everybody is now going through mass production because it's much faster and it's cheaper that way. So they will dump everything into this life-size blending machine, and they do a lot of milling. And this is where we get our grains. So milling is a process that we cannot be avoided anymore, all right? Unless you pound your own grains. Unfortunately, a lot of vitamins will be lost in this process as they remove the husk out of the wheat, So grains is still okay, all right? I mean, I have to say that there's a good 40 to 50% of minerals may be leached out from the process. But when it comes to flour, all right, it's worse because it's so fine and they grind it to be so small. So the chance of nutrients to be leached is even higher. And if you look at this picture, you may think that you don't eat food that has flour, right? But in reality, a lot of our food, especially for Asian diets, are made out of flour, such as mee hoon, noodles, okay? Even healthier options such as banh mi, right? Whole grain bread and pasta. So all these foods, as you see, they are not bad foods, They are not unhealthy foods per se, because many people eat them and they're supposed to be lower calorie compared to ultra processed food that we talked about just now, right? But the reality is, all these foods post-processed, they will deplete in nutrients as much as 70 to 90%. Right? The milling process is pretty harsh. And what are the proteins or the nutrition profile that will be affected? So these are a few common ones. Protein, especially your B vitamins, up to vitamin B9, your vitamin E, calcium, iron, magnesium, zinc, potassium, and copper. So this looks pretty technical to some people, and they may not feel the impact of how this would affect our health. But if you were to imagine, all these individual vitamins have a very important role in the body, and collectively they all have their unique functions. So this table, for example, is a summary of how each of these nutrients works in the body. So if you look at B1, right, it says growth, appetite, digestion, nerve activity. Okay, B6 for lipid metabolism, okay, and nucleic acid is basically your DNA. So you just imagine if you are consistently eating deficiency, not having enough, it means that all these functions will be affected in your body. So right now you may not feel any pain. Okay, you don't feel any pain anywhere. You're eating everything, you're following all the rules, right? But in reality, how much are you really absorbing? That is a big question mark, right? And a piece of orange has 50 milligrams of vitamin C. But with all this processing, this is a big question mark. Okay, we don't even know how much in reality really are we consuming. So this is where supplementation comes in to fill a very important gap. Okay, it's not just industrialization or things like that, but it is able to capture and to preserve the nutrients in a way that's a lot more potent than just food alone. So as you can see here, just one tablet of Bio-C, it can cover as much as 6 vitamin C from 6 oranges. So if this can, first of all, help to fill in the nutrient gap that we're not having every day, I think it's a significant help. And I think we can no longer say that it is optional or it's something that I eat, if I'm feeling more health conscious. But in reality, the food is deprived. And it's just going to be a vicious cycle from here on. So for people who think that they have enough, really have to think again. And not to mention, nowadays we are in a society that's increasingly stressed with even more fast-paced lifestyle and emotional stress more than any time before, and our body is working overtime as a result of it. So all these things boils down to this statement: if I don't take any supplements, I'm okay. So if people still have this question, then I will ask them back this question. I think it's better that you think again. Is this really true? Okay? So because of this step 3 Nourish is very important. This is your key to long-term good health. And today we will see in detail how all these nutrients play a part to sustain our body process. So vitamin B, we all know what it does. It's commonly known to give energy. So many people would think that, energy is just energy to wake up in the morning. I don't feel tired. I can go to work. Okay. Those tangible effects of energy, right? But many people don't know that the energy we are talking about is more than just that. It's the energy that sustains all the processes that happens in the body, such as nerve, right? Production of new neurons, brain function, production of red blood cells, and even the sustenance of our DNA. All these chemical processes involves a lot of energy. Okay, so first we're going to look at one of the most vital part of the body, which is the nerve. Okay, so this is an image of a nerve, and this yellow part is the myelin sheath. So I know it sounds very technical. What does it do? So this myelin sheath plays a very important role to enable electrical impulses to move quickly and efficiently along the nerve cells. Okay, just so you know that information flows from the nerve to our brain happens in microseconds. So it's very, very fast. So when this does not happen so well already, okay, you will start to find yourself having to have some memory problem. This is initial stage. Okay, you find yourself very forgetful. People say this 10 seconds ago, the next minute you just don't remember. These are just initial stages. Then after that will be like in terms of your intelligence, your IQ, then depression, anxiety. Then slowly it will start to go into a degenerative state. And okay, Alzheimer's and dementia will also happen as a result of this. Yeah, it's a progression over time. So it's very important to make sure that our brain is alert, okay, it's always moving, and it can keep up with the demands of the body. And of course, our spinal cord, all right, it holds a lot of nerve in there to enable us to walk, and to support. When we want to walk, we can support our bodily movements. And also the eyes. Okay, the eyes have a lot of optical nerve that it is in charge of capturing light, color, and to give us contrast sensitivity. So all these things, right, uses a lot of energy, and it requires vitamin B. So vitamin B is crucial in the formation of myelin sheath in order for all these processes to be able to carry on smoothly in the body. And of course, next we have red blood cell. Okay, we all know what it does in the body. So most people would know if you don't have enough blood, it's iron, right? So this is an illustration of what looks like inside this red blood cell. Okay, we have this thing called the hemoglobin. So we're going to touch on the other things, but the focus will be on iron. So iron has to bind towards heme, okay, in order for the red blood cell to capture oxygen. So this whole process does not happen with only iron alone. Vitamin B, especially vitamin B6, plays a very important role at the last step to ensure that iron can bind to heme. So it's very important, which many people don't realize. They think that, okay, in blood is only iron. But in reality, vitamin B also plays a very important role to make sure that this process happens smoothly. So if a person does not have enough blood, it may not be a problem of just iron, It could be also a deficiency in vitamin B. So for example, if your body is well nourished, okay, there are other supporting minerals and vitamin can accelerate or to make this process more efficient. So vitamin C increases iron absorption. So when there's more iron and you have sufficient vitamin B, this process can happen a lot faster and a lot more smoother as well. So this means that you have more oxygen in your body. There'll be more oxygen in your brain. There'll be more oxygen in your lungs. There's more oxygen in your liver and other parts of the body. So overall, you just imagine, okay, if you have more oxygen, you can breathe better, you're more alert, you feel better as a whole. So likewise, all the organs in the body can be healthier as a whole, just by having more vitamin B and vitamin C. So now you see that all these vitamins, they all have a collective role. They all work together. Last but not least is DNA. Okay, DNA is very crucial. They always have oxidative damage, and if this is not controlled, very easily there will be a a dysfunction in the genetic regulation. So in order to regulate that, our body naturally will make and repair DNA. Okay, earlier off and on, whenever there's a damage, our body will know what to do to, to repair it. So in order to sustain this, it needs vitamin B. So vitamin B is only one part of the equation. It also needs zinc. Okay, zinc plays a very important role to also further protect the DNA, to make sure that it can ward off any additional stress and damage that would be exerted on the DNA itself. So now you see how all these nutrients have an interactive role towards one another, and they don't work in isolation. So in beginning, when I just joined university, I thought that spirulina is just, very ordinary thing. Is an algae in the sea, right? But the more I spend time learning and to research about it, the more I just am convinced that it is more than meets the eye. Okay, this plant that you see is filled with vitamin B and has iron and zinc that can help to sustain all these crucial nutrients for functioning. So it's no wonder everybody talk about these are always the first few products that they will always recommend, and how it has such great results in people once they use it. Okay, and this is the reason why it's so important. So next, we want to talk about omega-3 because the society is not eating enough. Okay, so essential fatty acids, basically there are two types, omega-3 and omega-6. So omega-3 is the one that's important because it can reduce inflammation. But omega-6 is the one that is pro-inflammatory. Okay, it promotes inflammation. A certain amount is healthy, but if it's too much, then it's bad. So recommendation is up to 1.4, maximum 1 to 4 parts of omega-6. But in reality, we are not eating omega-3 enough at all, and we're taking too much of fatty acids that's inflammatory to the body. Up to 20 parts, okay? So when inflammation and all these pro-inflammatory components circulates in the body, it will lead to a cascade of inflammation, such as increased cancer risk. Many forms, in fact, all forms of cancer have some root in inflammation, and a damaged blood vessel, it could be the heart, it could be the brain, increased blood sugar, lead to depression, brain damage, impact immune response, and many, many more. And inflammation is a very dangerous part in the body if it's out of control. So all the remaining omega-3 plays a very important role to also sustain other parts of the body, heart health, all the way to mood and childhood development. So this is the reason why we need to have better sources of omega-3. And truth to be told, it's hardly to come across people who eat fish every day. Okay, so in order for us to fill in that gap, supplements play a very important role here. So next, I want to go to another important nutrient that everybody has to supplement, which is calcium. Okay, I spoke about this before, but it is important enough that I have to reiterate it again. So calcium requirement is 1,000 milligrams, and for individuals who are 50 years and above, it's 1,002. So unfortunately, we are not keeping up to the recommendations at all. In fact, we are severely behind at only 40% of the total recommendation. So many people, if you look at this, you don't feel the weight or the gravity of this situation. But this graph will tell you a different story. Okay, so this is a chart that displays peak bone mass of male and female over time. So male has a higher peak bone mass and female has lower. Unfortunately, it just drops a lot more drastically after menopause. So this is provided you eat 1,000 milligrams every day, okay, if you're meeting the requirement. But if you're only hovering at 40%, this peak bone mass would accelerate a lot faster. Okay, will go down at a downward trend if you do not have enough calcium. And the reason why this is so serious is because 99% of the calcium is stored in the bones. Only 1% of calcium circulates all around the body to sustain other functions. So just imagine if you are not eating 1,000 a day and you're only surviving on 300. So where the body get the calcium from? It will leach out from your bone because that's the only place that's calcium there. So if you bring this for over 5 years, over 10 years, very, very quickly, you will experience osteoporosis. Okay, this is supposed to be something that happened in your 50s, but you can have this at your 40s or even as early as late 30s. And as we prolong, have insufficient amount of calcium in the bone, it will lead to poor quality bone and it can break and have fracture very easily. So this is not a laughing matter, all right? It's not just slip and fall. And even if you do heal post-fracture, your bones will not be the same before as an original form. Okay, it can also affect especially the spinal cord area as well. So unfortunately, there isn't much calcium-rich sources out there that's available for us. The one that's most bioavailable is still dairy, yogurt, cheese, and tofu. So if you don't take these foods every day, then where you get your calcium from? Okay, there's a huge question mark there. So in order for us to bridge the gap, well, supplement is the way. Okay, and in fact, for calcium, it's very difficult if you do not take from a supplemental source. So for our calcium supplement, we don't only have calcium, but we also have magnesium and vitamin D. And all this, they have a collective role into making our bone and our muscles strong. So last but not least, there's still one area that I want to touch that's especially important is the produce that we have today, okay? Vegetables and vitamin C. So I consume vegetables every day. Do I still need to supplement? Basically, if you still have this question after I show you the next slide. This is a summary of how our food produce have changed over time. So way back in the day, cabbage still have high amounts of vitamin C. All right, 1960s, it has 60 grams. And now it has only 36.6 grams. Carrot has magnesium of 12 grams. And now it has depleted to only 7 grams. And tomato used to be a rich source of copper. Well, not really, it's 0.1. Better than nothing, but now it's practically non-existent. So this is how our fresh produce have depleted over time. You may be eating a lot, but in reality, whatever that's translated is a different story. So this is why we need something to further boost, okay, the nutritional activity and polyphenols that we have in our body. So Daily Produce 24 has an excellent role in this. Okay, we have extracted 12 fruits and vegetables, and we ensure that whatever technique that we use in our lab, we'll be able to retain whole foods and a natural deep color. So whenever if you have a look at the capsule, you can see that it's still very vibrant. You can see the colors of the fruits and vegetables in it. Okay, that retains nutritional integrity, and we can also preserve naturally occurring enzymes and micronutrients. And it's also packed in plant-based capsules without any animal products, so it's safe for anyone and everyone. So just now we have also learned on how vitamin C plays an important role in other functions such as production of red blood cell, right? So vitamin C is also another vitamin that's very important because it supports other functions in the body. So first, don't have to mention, okay, we all know how critical it is. It is the main agent against any form of infection. It also plays a very important role to fight against free radical, any form of damage that would potentially harm the body cells. And of course, it also supports collagen production to maintain a healthy skin integrity, blood vessel, and also healthy bones and muscle. And all these processes in the body also require vitamin C. So today we have learned extensively on how food have changed over time and where's the supplement stand. in this whole story. So these four are the most important, okay, the basic that everybody must have in their pantry. So first is spirulina. We learned how vitamin B, zinc, and iron plays such an important role to sustain good health. Omega-3 to increase anti-inflammatory properties in our body. Calcium to give us strong bones and we don't get fractures easily. Last but not least, vegetables and vitamin C to give us nutrients that's already been lost. Okay, Daily Produce 24 in this regard. So I hope that you have learned a thing or two from today's presentation. Okay, so thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate all of you attending despite today being a holiday. So we are open for question and answer right now. So if you have anything that you would like to discuss, please feel free to type in the chat group. Okay. Okay. Oh, look like today we have no questions. Well, it's fine if there's no questions. Means that maybe I've answered a lot of questions that you have in your mind before attending. All right, so no pressure, not to worry. If you have any questions that come out later in the day, definitely you can feel free to send me a message. And I hope that whatever that I've talked about today can give you some new knowledge. So whenever you meet anyone that throws a lot of questions and they are not convinced with supplementation, it can give you some hints to know how to answer. All right. So thank you so much for all your time here today. And I appreciate all of you here. As always, it's a pleasure. And I really appreciate your presence. So yeah, so this will be the end of this series of Back to Basics. So next month, okay, we will be launching something new in Malaysia. So I hope that all of you can attend as well. Yeah, very exciting launches coming up. So, okay, thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great time and enjoy the rest of your night. Okay, see you and stay safe. Bye. Thank you.